It's been over a week since Halloween. Over a week since Halloween. Your mum said you could watch it. So it's me. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. First Halloween film I saw, 1986, I believe. I'll have to put that in the comments. I hadn't seen Halloween or Halloween 2. So the fact that the first film I ever saw doesn't have Michael Myers in it is probably why I still think of this in terms of that era as my favourite Halloween film. Before the H2O phenomenons and so on. Having no idea about the film, all I knew is that it was a horror. Guy at the video shop said it's okay. You don't need to have seen the first two. Because the guy just kills people. He hadn't seen this either. I, at this point, was like, Mum, they said, yeah, fine, whatever. It was a weird film to rewatch. I have touched upon it in the past, more recent past, but really trying to think about how I did sit there and think, how did I watch this? It's really slow. I think that says a lot about how you've rented your film, you've made your choice. There was a period, actually, it made me think about the fact that in order to get my money's worth out of films after I watched the film, I would rewind the film in terms of watch it going backwards. So this pumpkin would have been amazing. Um, the story itself, uh, it basically involves one man, Tom Atkins, as ever being ultimate Tom Atkins. Every aspect of this is Tom Atkins being Tom Atkins from the other films, right down to he was just a friend of mine to fucking anything that moves. Investigating the death of a patient, meeting that said patient's daughter, and thus immediately going H gap, Jamie Lee Curtis. So I finding himself in a Children of the Corn type phenomenon where he's investigating this place, finding what I understand now to be a company town, which has in fact been bought by a pagan, Wickerman pagan kind of character in Chalice, who has, and this is the fact, it's just audacious. I think I must have bought into it because at the time the whole druidic element was very much in the rise about summer solstices and so on with Stonehenge. So the idea that some uh, Americans, Irish Americans, there's a lot of Bagoras going on with these shamrocks. I mean, I'm just going to try and bypass that. Is building this to create some sort of global infanticide. There's a subtext there which is later picked up in Cabin in the Woods. The idea, or Lord Summerall, I think, is the best contemporary example in terms of British film. It is a weird fusion of a pastiche of Celtic mythology involving chthonic entities almost, because just the sheer way the science and the magic meshes together. Um, so Ted is investigating the town. People die. The factory has obviously got some dark secrets to it. He punches a Terminator in the gut, thus being able to kill it. Uh, and then escapes. Ultimately, again, something we'll see later in They Live, this is all going to be triggered by a subliminal message that is going to hit the masks and make them all explode kids' heads, and snakes will come out of their chunder. Um, Near apocalypse at the end. Thinking back, it has all the hallmarks of later John Carpenter directed films. As a piece itself, it really is very good. It's very good. It's a complicated story, but it does make sense. Ironically, in this day and age, I think that story would have been better as a TV two-parter, some sort of mini-series, so you could really get into the conspiracy. It's because it's so show not tell. Uh, I mean, he's a relatable lead. The fact that he is an absolute horn dog and knows how. It's pretty obvious how he charms women, strokes, manipulates them. That kind of works in that it's realistic, and his wife hates him, so she obviously knows what's going on. The characters that we meet from the sort of ingenue daughter does add a bit of lamppost really to it. She is really the sexy lamp of the film, which is probably most denoted by the final act, where she says absolutely nothing and then turns out to be a robot. The bit that gets me about this set of scenes, is okay, so he built a robot out of her in a matter of hours. Um, it's not that he built a robot for some perverse fembot exercise so much. Charlie Bond is banned from the comments. It's more the fact that this robot goes along with the destruction of the rest of the factory until the very, very end, and then tries to attack them. Its use of dealing with marketing, though, is really good. You have the guy who's responsible for selling all this stuff, and there's an Augustus Gloop element to his son. I mean, that's the stuff we all know, is the pumpkin head bit suddenly exploding. The rival toy manufacturer who had a misfire and shoots her own face off. It all gels together, except for the Stonehenge element itself, where Chalice suddenly becomes some ice demon. Um, Definitely worth checking out. And the ending is quite a cliffhanger. He's trying to get everyone to turn it off. The bits that derail it is his machismo, but it's from the stuff that he's able to judo chop, throwing a mask over a security camera while tied up. You know, that the Deus Ex Machina of that is pretty unbelievable. The fact he's able to punch a Terminator in the guts, and we're never really explained. We understand that these automatons have some sort of historical relationship with Chalice, and that he's bought them before. But really, if you're able to build Terminators, robotic killers, incidentally, it's great that he sends them off on those side quest missions to kill forensic scientist love interests. Why would you bother with the whole Silver Shamrock element? I mean, some things like that do start untangling, but the intensity and mesmerism of a small, ostensibly Irish American town just beholden to one factory, accepting the fact that there's a curfew, really does bear the weight, and absolutely bears the story totally well. Um, like I say, I'm watching it. I don't know how 11, 12-year-old of me probably didn't get bored with the factory stuff. I think it was just the characters were kooky enough to carry it through to my mind. Watching it now, as a middle-aged man, I do see the flaws, and I see how that plays into the situation, and rather his inability, because he's a bluster guy, he's an alpha male. This is a situation which isn't going to be resolved with that. He gets some way, but at the end of the day, you can only shout at a phone, "Turn him off! It's the fake news!" so much. The effects are fleeting. It's more about the setting. The use of Stonehenge in this way is fascinating. It's fascinating how this exists as a product. I think it's totally worth watching out. I think it's totally maligned as well. The fact that Halloween 4 has to be billed the return of Michael Myers. I was really annoyed when the Nicolas Cage film Season of the Witch wasn't a reboot of this. I was really hoping that was going to happen. So it's on Lionsgate, it's on MGM, and it's full of suspense. It is worth your time. One bit I will say that really stuck with me this time as well, that you forget over the while, is as the sunset of Halloween and you really see all these kids in all these different states all wearing the Shamrock mask, suddenly you go from a small town to actually seeing that this is a national phenomenon. Um, Really raises the jeopardy with only hours to go in such a subtle way, but so impactful, that it has to give credit to the directors and the style of it as well. It's a completely valid horror film. if anyone sidesteps it in their Halloween franchise oeuvre stuff, they really are missing out, because it is about the tone, and it is about a statement on marketing, and all the other sort of horror elements, the infiltration, the isolation, the mass seduction and corporatization that you see in most of John Carpenter's later films. So it really does bear his fingerprints on that Shamrock. So check it out as soon as you can. I myself will still be wondering how I watched it before. Probably like this. Thank you, and don't forget to the likes there, or there somewhere, and I'll buy a green screen with them at some point. Tom.